Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending our Laudato Si Action Platform launch. So excited to see all your faces. So if you're just joining us, feel free to post in the chat your land acknowledgement, where you're from. And I'm going to take this opportunity to introduce our excellent speakers today. So Bishop Johan Hansen was born in 1967 in Edmonton and raised in Grand Prairie, Alberta. After high school, he attended the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology and completed a diploma in building construction engineering. Returning for further studies, he completed a Bachelor of Arts degree at the University of Alberta. At the same time, he joined the Congregation for the Most Holy Redeemer, the Redemptorists, professing religious vows in 1998. Studying in Toronto at the University of St. Michael's College, he graduated with a Master's of Divinity in 2003. After a diaconal appointment in Sudbury, Ontario in 2004, he was ordained to the priesthood in Grand Prairie by Archbishop Arthur Guimond. He served as an associate pastor in Redemptorist Parish in St. John's, Newfoundland, and in Toronto, Ontario. In 2007, he became the Director of Formation for Redemptorist students. In 2009, he became the pastor at St. Mary's Parish in Saskatoon and was there for 6 years, during which time he did work with refugee settlement, social justice, and the Diocesan Commission for Truth and Reconciliation. In 2015, he accepted an appointment from Bishop Mark Hageman to serve as the pastor of Our Lady of Victory Parish in Inuktitut, as well as care for the mission. Oh, I don't know how to say these words, Bishop. You might have to help me with those.
Sigachik, Walatuk, Tuk, and yeah, I think that's what I have there.
I think those are the three. Thank you. All located in the Diocese of Mackenzie Fort Smith. Thanks. On December 15th, 2007, Pope Francis named him the 7th Bishop of the Diocese of Mackenzie Fort Smith in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, to succeed the Most Reverend Mark Hageman, who had been named Bishop of Saskatoon. Bishop Hansen's Episcopal ordination took place on March 16th, 2018. We're very pleased to have you with us. And at this point, I'll hand it over to you, Bishop, and he's going to lead us in some opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha. Thanks to all of you for joining us this morning. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Just maybe a brief clarification about, I've been hearing presenters. As far as I know, Norman is the only presenter. I'm just here to give a little prayer and some opening remarks. When Norman and I were chatting earlier, he said, we're sharing the stage. And I said, no. I'm setting the stage. The stage is yours after that. So just a few opening remarks. So I'm coming to you this morning from Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories, where I'm the bishop. In 2015, the summer that Laudato Si was promulgated, I was just preparing to embark on my new appointment as the pastor of those communities that Tasha was attempting to pronounce. I was the pastor of a small Catholic community in Inuvik and its surrounding missions of Palatuk, Sigachik, and Tuktoyaktuk in the Western Canadian Arctic. So as I was driving north of the 700 isolated kilometers of the Dempster Highway through the Yukon and the Northwest Territories, I was truly awestruck by the natural beauty that I saw. The highway, the gravel highway, follows the course of several major river valleys. It crosses 2 mountain ranges. And this whole time, there would often be hours between seeing a vehicle before me or behind me. So I could really have believed that the land that I was driving through was pristine and untouched by human hands, except for this ribbon of gravel road that stretched across the permafrost. I was soon to learn, however, upon my arrival, that while the beauty of our northern lands is real, the idea that they have been untouched by our hand is an illusion. While the traditional peoples of these lands have been present here for thousands of years, living in a relatively harmonious relationship with the environment and with God's creation, the advent of towns and mines and modern technologies, these are all very new to the north. In fact, one of the small communities that I worked in the Arctic was just celebrating 50 years as a hamlet. 50 years ago, they were basically migratory hunters and gatherers, and only began to settle in one community because of the missionary presence at that time. So it's perhaps here in the north that the contrast between the untouched, the pristine, and the recently spoiled is most clearly to be seen. In the encyclical that we'll be looking at this morning, Laudato Si, Pope Francis asks us to open our eyes to see what is happening to our common home, to look around and see what we are doing. In the encyclical, we read, "A sober look at our world shows that the degree of human intervention, often in the service of business interests and consumerism, is actually making our earth less rich and beautiful and ever more limited and gray, even as technological advances in consumer goods continue to abound limitlessly." So in my work in the north, I saw this plainly written in the communities which had been first built up and then left abandoned by the speculative interests of oil and gas companies. I saw this clearly in the divisive rift that had grown between those who had access to wealth, such as in the mines, and those who were left to live in poverty, relying on government support. In a very few short decades, a traditional lifestyle that had developed over thousands of years, that had been in tune with the seasons and the land, had been definitely turned into a consumer economy. And in doing so, it left many people behind. It effectively scuttled the purpose of life for many elders. And it really erased the hopes of so many young people who did not have access to the way of life that they were seeing on their televisions and computers. But aside from the toll on human health and relationships, the reality of climate change, which is still debated by some, could easily be put to rest in the minds of the doubtful by simply visiting the north. Melting permafrost, crumbling shorelines, these contribute to the disruption of human habitation. I've seen whole neighborhoods having to be moved to other locations because the shoreline on which they've been residing for the last 2-3 generations is now gone into the ocean. Dwindling migratory herds contribute to food scarcity in the north. And these are just a few of the stark indicators that our earth is on a path that we do not want to go down for the sake of millions or even billions of humans who will be adversely affected in a direct way, not to mention the rest of the Earth's species, which may not be able to adapt as quickly as we can. And of course, in the end, we are all affected because we are all connected. So despite drawing our attention to this bleak present reality and its causes, Laudato Si is in fact an encyclical about hope. It reminds us that yes, we must change our course, but also that we have what it takes to change. Again, from the encyclical, we read, "Many things have to change course, but it is we human beings above all who need to change. We lack an awareness of our common origin, of our mutual belonging, and of a future to be shared by everyone. This basic awareness would enable the development of new convictions new attitudes and forms of life. A great cultural, spiritual, and educational challenge stands before us, and it will demand that we set out on a long path of renewal, unquote. So this, of course, is a very challenging ask, but I believe that the plan that we will see laid out before us this morning is an important and hopefully fruitful step on the journey of change. Within our spiritual tradition lies an untapped source of wisdom and practical knowledge, personified in the figure of St. Francis. And again, quoting from the document, in calling to mind the figure of St. Francis of Assisi, we come to realize that a healthy relationship with creation is one dimension of an overall personal conversion. It entails the recognition of our errors, sins, faults, and failures, and leads to heartfelt repentance and a desire to change, unquote. I'm also buoyed, and I thank Tasha for raising this at the beginning of our meeting. I'm also buoyed in hope by the crossover that I see between the work of truth and reconciliation with the Indigenous peoples of this land and the call of Laudato Si. Within that window of intersection is an opportunity to learn from those who have been doing this the longest and who have the most immediate vested interest. From the encyclical, we read that it is essential to show special care for Indigenous communities and their cultural traditions. They're not merely one minority among others, but should be the principal dialogue partners, especially when large projects affecting their land are proposed. For them, land is not a commodity, but rather it is a gift from God and from their ancestors who rest there, a sacred space with which they need to interact if they are to maintain their identity and values. When they remain on their land, they themselves care for best, unquote. And because they have this knowledge, and because good relationships with our brothers and sisters are integral to a good relationship with all of creation, it is important that we learn from them as much as we can by listening. And that's why we're gathered here this morning, to listen, to learn, to hear from our speaker and from one another. And I'm very grateful to have this time together to share a common vision of a path that will lead us forward. It is my privilege to open this morning with prayer, and I will do so using the words of St. Francis of Assisi from his most well-known and beloved canticle of the creatures. So let us pray in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Most high, all-powerful, good Lord, yours are the praises, the glory, and the honor, and all blessing. To you alone, most high, do they belong, and no human is worthy to mention your name. Praise be you, my Lord, with all your creatures, especially Sir, brother, Sun, who is the day and through whom you give us the light that's right now shining in my eyes. Praise be you, Lord, through Sister Moon and the stars in heaven. You formed them clear and precious and beautiful. Praise be you, my Lord, through Brother Wind and through air, cloudy and serene, and every kind of weather, through whom you give sustenance to your creatures. Praise be you, my Lord, through Sister Water, who is very useful and humble and precious and chaste. Praise be you, my Lord, through Brother Fire, through whom you give light through the night, and he is beautiful and playful and robust and strong. Praise be you, my Lord, through our sister Mother Earth, who sustains and governs us, who produces various fruit with colored flowers and herbs. Praise be you, my Lord, through those who give pardon for your love and bear infirmity and tribulation. Blessed are those who endure in peace, for by you most high they shall be crowned. Praise be you, my Lord, to our sister bodily death, from whom no one living can escape. Woe to those who die in sin. Blessed are those whom death will find in you, your most holy will. For the second death shall do them no harm. Praise and bless my Lord and give him thanks. And let us serve him with great humility. Amen. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, Bishop Yon. That was very excellent. A lot to think about there, and I'm very glad that you made those connections in Laudato Si. It's a great document, and so I'm actually, before I introduce Norman, I'm going to launch a poll. So this will pop up on your screen. There's 4 responses. You just pick the one that best suits you. It's anonymous, so there's no shame how you answer it. And I'll just leave it open for about 30 seconds and then I'll close it. And it's just a little bit of information for us moving forward. So, have you read Laudato Si? Oh, and there's a second question. Okay, that second question is supposed to be on there, but anyway, you can answer it, I guess. I set that up incorrectly. My apologies. Maybe just 10 more seconds and then I'll close the poll. All right, so for the first response, this is on your screen, you can see this. So 77% of people here have read all of Laudato Si. That's excellent. That is so much more than I was expecting. Congratulations, that's great. That's so awesome. 13% of people have read parts of it. 5% of people know, but they've read or heard a lot about it, and 5% of people haven't. So excellent. Thank you so much, everyone. So with that, I am now going to introduce our actual speaker, I guess. So Norman Levesque is here on the screen with me. He's the Creation Care Officer for the Diocese of South Montreal, which I'm going to mispronounce, so I'll ask you to say it.
Okay. The Diocese of Saint-Jean-Longueuil.
There you go. He holds a master's in theology from the University of Montreal. As founder of the Green Churches Network, many of you might have heard of this before or might even be members. He has gained much experience so Catholic communities can care for God's creation. He wrote 3 books, including Greening Your Church, and was invited to join the working group for the Laudato Si Action Platform. He lives on the South Shore of Montreal with his 2 girls, his wife, who is also expecting, and 4 chickens. He works full-time for Environment and Climate Change Canada as a Science Communications Officer. So I'm just so thrilled to have you here with us. This is the English launch for Laudato Si Action Platform. And with this, I'm going to mute myself and turn it over. We have much to learn from Norman. And like I said, if you have questions or concerns, you can post them in the chat and I will try and be responding to those as we go. So thanks so much. Oh.
Thanks. So a warm hello to Bishop Yon, and also thanks to Tasha. I've gotten to know you in the past weeks, and I honestly believe you are a force of nature. If we could tap into a bit of that energy, that would be a renewable resource, and we would solve a part of the ecological crisis. And thanks to the Archdiocese of Regina for organizing this event. Thank you very much. I'm talking to you from Montreal, which is from the traditional territory of the Iroquois when there was first contact. But after that, the Iroquois weren't there anymore. But it remains that Montreal has always been a meeting place for different nations. And I believe this is continuing that tradition. This presentation is in English. If ever some of you are joining in different parts of Canada and you do speak French, a similar presentation will be given in a few weeks, the beginning of March. It'll be organized by the Archdiocese of Quebec. Alors, si vous parlez français, tenez-vous au courant à l'Archidiocèse de Québec, ECDQ, et ou le Réseau des Églises Vertes. So that ad has been done. Let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen and talk to you about the Laudato Si Action Platform. Can you see my screen? See the slideshow? Great. It is called the Laudato Si Action Platform. Have you ever heard of any other encyclical that after that would lead to action, lead to actually doing something so explicitly? This is the first time historically anyways. And the Laudato Si was written by a commission which is now related to the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development. So I've been working with them for the past year. Who am I? I'm a theologian and environmentalist. I'm a member of the working group Laudato Si Action Platform, Dicastery, PIHD, that's on the top left, Promoting Integral Human Development, which is obviously a branch of the Vatican. I'm Diocesan Officer for Creation Care Ministry in the Diocese of Saint-Jean-Longueuil. We'll practice that, Tasha. No, Longueuil is really tough to pronounce in English, don't worry. I'm the founder of the Green Churches Network, an instructor of online courses called the Creation Care School, and I've written a few books, and the one I wrote in English is called Greening Your Church. Had a fun time with Novalis publishing that. Notice that it was published 1 year before Laudato Si. And there's even, my book was actually a slight influence in Laudato Si. That was confirmed by people working on the commission. For the online courses, these are really interesting. You can go on creationcare.teachable.com. There are 2 free mini courses, so they last about an hour. One is called Laudato Si, a revolutionary encyclical. The screenshot I took is actually that one. You can see like my face and I'm explaining in the video, and on the left, you can go from chapter to chapter. The second mini course available, Greening Your Church in 10 steps. And also there are 3 full courses, which will last about 10 hours each. One is called Green Pages of the Bible. The Bible has a lot to offer when it comes to creation care. Spirituality of creation. So then we go outside of the Bible in the rest of the Christian tradition, our rituals, stories of saints, different spiritualities like the Benedictine, the Celtic, the Franciscans, obviously, and creation care ministry. So this is a new ministry in the church. How is it structured? So see, I do invite you to go snoop and look at the Creation Care School. The Green Churches Network is the official partner of the Laudato Si Action Platform in Canada. So the way the website is built, people see this international version, Laudato Si Action Platform, but then if you need help as a Canadian, you'll be referred directly to the Green Churches Network. It started in Montreal in 2006, and up until now, 95 churches have registered and are very active. So you can contact us for help. There's the website there and the toll-free phone number. So I'm talking to you about Laudato Si and Green Churches Network at the same time. So here's the dynamic. If you want to know what to do, a structured way of what to do, it's on the left with the Laudato Si Action Platform. It has an international approach. It has a Catholic approach. So many things you'll see there, you'll recognize yourself and be completely comfortable as a Catholic. The Green Churches Network started 16 years ago with a Canadian approach. So, I mean, we'll talk about things are written in metric, for example, or we do acknowledge the cold that is here. We're not, some island in the Caribbean. So all the examples are very Canadian. For Laudato Si, it's international, so it tries to go somewhat wider. Green Churches Network also has an ecumenical approach, which will be an advantage when it comes to networking with other churches. We can do that in an international way, but if the Orthodox Church 2 blocks, 3 blocks away has solar panels, or maybe just 3 towns away from yours, but you didn't know, well, the Green Churches Network really helps with that networking. Laudato Si has a list of actions to be done. It's somewhat standard. Green Churches Network will offer you a list of resources, like, for example, what would be the right approach if we're going to look at geothermal in our church, or community gardens. So we'll have resources to offer them. Laudato Si Action Platform offers a baseline evaluation, and it's being discussed if there's going to be, after a certain number of years, a certification or an award. The Green Churches Network never offered that, but it does offer networking in your region. So that's the dynamic. What to do? You can follow Laudato Si Action Platform, but how to do it in a Canadian context, Green Churches Network is there to help you. So what is it? What is the Laudato Si Action Platform? It's an action-oriented, I have a problem with my screen here, just a moment. There. 7-year ecological conversion journey in the spirit of integral ecology. It's intended to support and empower families, communities, and institutions to achieve total sustainability. But quite ambitious. It's the fruit of a unique collaboration between all women and men of goodwill. More than 100 organizations around the world helped to build this platform. Why was it launched? Well, to listen and respond to 3 categories: the cry of the earth, the cry of the poor, and the cry of future generations. So there's this sense of solidarity that must be built that we've seemed to have completely forgotten. And that's like one of the main cries from Laudato Si, the encyclical. Those who worked, like me, on the working groups to build Laudato Si, our prayer and dream is to initiate a people's movement from below, which is really great too, because our Catholic Church usually decides from the top and then it trickles down. This is simply an initiation so that it is built, this movement, from below. We hope to create a critical mass needed for societal transformation. In other words, the whole dream is that if Catholic churches across around the globe start acting to reduce their environmental footprint, well, then that's a huge critical mass of people who will change the way we operate in our world. We can have a very positive influence. These are the 7 sectors of the Laudato Si Action Platform. So when you register, you fall into at least one of these categories. You can register as the representative from a parish or a diocese, from an educational institution like a school or a university. It could be healthcare centers like hospitals or clinics. There's the economy center. So very proud Catholics who have a business, a farm. Well, you can do this by also adjusting your ways of doing with the encyclical Laudato Si, so you can register as well. All types of organizations and groups. I'm thinking of a youth center that was initiated by some Catholics, for example, or people who help the poor, obviously, those kinds of centers as well. To the left, we see religious orders. Obviously, they contribute a lot, and families. I was in another presentation recently and someone raised their hand and said, yeah, but I'm an individual. I'm not really connected to all of those, but I'm a practicing Catholic. I'm an individual. Where do I fit in? Into families. That's the closest to the descriptions. But with the invitation to actually maybe be part of a green team in your educational institution or in your parish. So yeah, it was mostly been built with a community-oriented thrust. Okay, that's how we want to do things. But as an individual, you can register as well. There are 7 goals. You can see 3 and 7 are numbers that come repeat themselves a lot. So there's a focus on redefining and rebuilding our relationship with each other and our common home. So these are the goals. If I saw that 77% of you read the whole encyclical, so these goals are 7, well, very important goals that come out of Laudato Si. Response to the cry of the earth. Response to the cry of the poor. Ecological economics. Adoption of simple lifestyles. Ecological education. Ecological spirituality, and community engagement and participatory action. I like citizen engagement as well. Advocacy. So these are the 7 goals, and all of the actions presented on the platform come from those 7 goals. And there are also 3 pillars to the platform. What are the pillars? It's like, what makes it move? What strengthens this movement? The first one is community building, because every time people join on the platform, they share a video or their thoughts in the document, and all the other people can go look at those. So we're building community. We're starting to network with churches that are even beyond our borders. The second one, resource sharing. The Green Churches Network contributed a lot of resources on that website, but you can find some from international Jesuits. You can find some from Caritas in different countries. And also the Laudato Si action plans. That's the big homework. That's what every church or family or institution joining has to produce an action plan. And those action plans, well, we actually share them on the website so others can be inspired by them. And it shows that there's a lot of things going on. We're not just reading the encyclical, we're doing something about it. We understand the crisis and we're moving, we're acting. So there's a planning guide. As soon as you register and go inside, there's a planning guide. You can download that. It's 22 pages long. The one on the website right now is the first version. It'll be I don't know, the graphics department will add to it a bit, and it'll be more and more interesting to read. But it shows you how to create an action plan. So I read through that. I was part of the people writing stuff and commenting as well. But you read through that, and it inspires you to create an action plan, writing all of those actions your institution, your group is ready to do. And the one you see there on the right is the one I'm building with my own parish right now. We take those 7 goals, and inside those goals, there are actions to be done. And we say, who's going to be the leader on this action? What's the deadline? And we refresh it every year. Now, being Catholics, we really like discernment. And we're not going to get into this project if we're not going to jump into it with both feet. So we'll be cultivating fraternity and welcoming the guidance of the Holy Spirit. That's essential. Before committing to developing Laudato Si action plans, communities must be invited to discern together. What we've done in our parish is actually, say the invitation at the end of a mass where the theme was creation care, aligned with that Sunday's readings, obviously. And then I simply invited, do some people want to be part of a green team? And then some people came, we talked about certain orientations, and then we came back a few Sundays later and told the rest of the congregation, okay, here's what we have in mind. And then people felt they were on board. Obviously, the priests in that parish being on board is really important as well. The platform will offer an optional suggested discernment process, so it can actually help you on how to do this. And now I'd like to give you a guided tour of the website. First, this is what the website looks like when you arrive first as a visitor. It's very, very similar once you've registered, but we can see on the top there, there's about, obviously, but then there's the goals, community building internationally, and all of those resources. That's where people go usually, unless you want to go inside your dashboard and go further. But that's available for all, even those who have not registered. Then the button enroll can be seen in many, many places to encourage people to enroll. And obviously, once you've enrolled, well, when you come back to the website, the login button is really interesting. Now you see English there. Just for you to know, the whole website, it's translated in 9 languages. I've been on the French side a few times. It needs a bit of tweaking, but we're in the first months of this platform. So it's quite understandable. So now I'm going to continue sharing my screen. I'm just going to switch which screen I'm going to share. I'm going to go sharing now. Belong. Pretty sure it's this one. There we go. There. So here's the website. You don't see the buttons enroll anymore or log in because I logged in. I'm going down here. There's a video from the Pope who explicitly talks about the Laudato Si action platform. So we have the Pope's blessing for this beautiful resource that came out of the encyclical. If I can encourage you on the first page, the home page, you'll find this part. Join the conversation, subscribe to the Laudato Si action platform email updates. So that is like one of the first things you should do. It's not an invasive email, only a few emails have been sent, but it's when something new is added to the website or an event that might be happening, you'll get that type of information. Okay, so that would be step number 1. Now, as I said, on top, you have these 3 pillars: the Laudato Si goals, community, and resources. So if I click on goals, we can see the 7 goals right here. And when we click on them, we get a somewhat larger explanation. What do we mean by the response to the cry of the earth? Same thing for the response for the cry of the poor, ecological economics, adoption of sustainable lifestyles, and it goes on and on. So this is a description of the goals. Second one here, community. Well, you get inspiration from other participants. You can see their reflections and see their plans. Like what I showed you from my own parish, that will be right there. Same thing for people's reflections. The reflections are fun videos, and you can also practice your ear with other languages. And as for resources, this is the most visited page, by the way. Look here, there are already 168 resources that have been added. And you can search for them per language, per Laudato Si goal, which sector you're from, families or institutions or parishes, and some are specific to certain countries. So that helps the search. So this is a filter, and once we change, we can also go with resources. Like if I write spirituality, for example, well, we'll have different examples right here. Oh, look at that, my online course on spirituality of creation. Lots of things from the Jesuits. We can thank them for that. There. So now I'm going to go inside. We're going to go visit the dashboard. So once you've enrolled, giving some basic information, for example, I was from a parish, so I wrote the address of the parish, how to contact me, the country. Then we get to this dashboard and we have these three main things. Your self-assessment, which is done every year. A reflection you shall share with others all around the world. Like, how does your parish or your institution understand Laudato Si and how do you intend to act? And finally, your Laudato Si action plan. You can see the colors are not the same. I've done the assessment. It takes at least 30 minutes, even maybe 45, because for your institution, you have to take into account how much electricity you use, how much gas, how much water, how many times a year have you done education about the environment, or how many times have you talked about eco-spirituality in the Christian tradition? So all a bunch of questions that really orient you and what's being done, and that gives you an orientation on what should be done. So that I filled out, put online. The reflection, I've uploaded it. It was a little video. And now the third one, Laudato Si action plan, I'm working on that. So how to make a Laudato Si action plan? Well, really useful, the suggested actions right here. So we can only see the suggested actions once we filled in, because all of these actions, then this is a huge effort that came from the team. They are filtered according to where you are in the world. Are you in a rich country or a poor country? And within that country, are you more city or rural? Do you have easy access to water or not? Easy access to electricity or not? So all of these actions are actually the way they're formulated, the language used changes. So I'm in the suburb of Montreal. I wrote those down, and these are suggestions, the writing here, like to reduce food waste. Now these are, as it's said above, suggested actions. They're suggested. So from all of this huge list, you shall be building an action plan. I can show it to you again, what the action plan looks like. It's right here. This is the one I'm working on for my parish with the green team. Okay, so my parish is St. John the 23rd. It's on the South Shore of Montreal, St. Hubert. I put the year here because this should be refreshed every year. And then we see one of the Laudato Si goals, response to the cry of the earth. And then we have some of the actions we want to do with the leaders, with the deadline. So that's the first one. The second one, response to the cry of the poor. Write those down. Ecological economics, same thing. So we build that plan. That takes a lot of time. That'll take a few meetings with the green team, and approved then by the parish council. And you know, to create movement within a community is not easy, but at least when we have something on paper, we can discuss it and build on that. I'm jumping back into the website to show you a few more things, and then so we see the 7 goals here, and each time we click, we have all of these suggested actions which we can gradually add to our action plan. The self-assessment, they've included, after answering a bunch of questions, they've included a very interactive way of saying, well, you're getting there, you're not getting there, you're close, you're not. And at a glance, we can see what we have to work on. So that's also a very interesting tool, which will also be improved as time goes on. And building together, this is really great because we live in a very individualistic society. You know, it's my own person or my own little community. So Laudato Si really wants to open up because we can only solve this crisis if we work together. So we see here community of practice. You can connect with other organizations, you can share your contact information, and by doing that, we'll work together. And there we go. I believe I've gone through everything, and it'll be fun to get a bunch of questions and discussions in little groups. Thanks to all of this.
Thank you so much. There is one question that Agnes brought forth. In speaking with colleagues, I've heard that if you don't finish your self-assessment in one setting, you lose your work. Is there a way to save the work through the dashboard and to continue on later? And then there was a couple of people saying, great question. Yeah. You're muted, my friend.
I'm not anymore. I know. It's a good thing Zoom says, hey, you're muted. It was very big on my screen. I got it. Thanks. Thanks for the question. And it is actually a bug that I noticed as well. So I told the people working on the development of the website that they really have to fix that bug really quickly. So ideally, once we fill it out, it'll create a page where we can see the answers we gave for a given year. We could probably, if there are big changes, do another one in the same year, or at least do another one and save them. So I acknowledge it's a bug and it needs to be fixed. And that's why I'm on it. So you can get to me through Tasha and through the Green Churches Network. And if ever you see other things, I'm part of that team with the Vatican building this website. So your input would be very much appreciated.
Awesome. Wow, thank you very much. So I think if there are any other questions kind of based on that presentation, feel free to put them in the chat, or you can use the raise hand function. And we can just we have about 4 minutes here for questions, and then we'll be sending ourselves into breakout rooms. So there's another question here from Karen. She says, which parts do participants have to make public? What are optional? Reflections, plans, assessment?
Right. Another very good question. So lots of stuff is public. So the reflections is something that is really offered to everyone. That's public. And the plans are public as well. So that's why I simply put the leaders with the initials rather than putting the full name of someone. And I mean, the parish address is something that's public, so I put that as well. But whatever I wouldn't want to put because it's too personal, I just wouldn't put it in that document. The first one, the self-assessment, that is not viewed by everyone. It's a self-assessment. It's just to go through that form and help us reflect on the next steps. So that's personal. You keep that.
Great, thank you. One more question, maybe Bishop Yon, this is for you. How on board is the CCCB? Is there any plan for them to introduce / support this in their diocese? That's a great question. Either of you might be able to answer this question.
I'll start, Norman, but you can follow up for sure. To be honest, this platform, maybe I was overlooking it, but it first came to my attention through Tasha, and then Norman explained it to me more. That's not to say that the CCCB is not aware of it, but I don't know that it's been heavily promoted, but I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful tool, and I think it should be promoted. So perhaps, Norman, you've already been working on some connections with the executive at the CCCB?
I have. I'll tell you a little anecdote. When I would connect on Zoom with other people of the working group to build Laudato Si, I was so surprised, so amazed that most of the people on the screen came from their Episcopal conference. They were usually lay people, but some of them were clergy. Representing officially their Episcopal conference, they had a job, or they would volunteer, but usually they had a job in the Laudato Si committee or Laudato Si commission of their Episcopal conference. I was the only one that really came through an organization, the Green Churches Network. And they were thrilled to have a Canadian, and I'm the one bringing you back all of this great information. But there is a bit of work to be done within the CCCB to truly acknowledge the Laudato Si encyclical, and then after that, promote the Laudato Si action platform. Showing there are so many people in this call today, I think it shows that there's a real desire in the base for it to happen.
Yeah, excellent. I agree. And now that we have, Bishop Yon has been exposed to this, and so we have a voice there. And I think, to network with your own bishop. So just like Norman said, there's many dioceses that are being represented here today. So if you have a diocesan staff person, which you might not, but if you do, or if you have someone particularly like if there's a CWL, with your diocesan chapter, or different organizations, institutional organizations like that, to bring that forward and to really advocate for this kind of support. You could phone your bishop's office and book, a 20-minute appointment and to bring this up and make your bishop aware of this, because working for a bishop, they are very busy people and they have a lot of things going on. So if there's a way that you can help support and to help to educate and keep them abreast of what's going on, and I think generally they would be appreciative of that. So these are all great questions. There's another great question here from Kim. Any suggestions for using the Laudato Si action platform with the intersection of truth and reconciliation initiatives?
Ooh, that's a really good one. All the questions were good, but that's a surprising one. When it comes to the cry of the poor, the response to the cry of the poor, which is one of the 7 Laudato Si goals, well, we don't need to go very far to consider that most of the Indigenous communities in the world are poor. So they fall into that category. And many of the actions talk about reconciliation, talk about ensuring Indigenous retain their land rights, that they have a voice, that they're consulted. So yeah, there is space for that. And I'm very happy that the Laudato Si action platform integrated that.
Yeah, great.
I just mentioned something too. It's one thing to hear the voice of the poor, but it's also important to hear the voice of wisdom. And certainly in my diocese, I see an enormous opportunity for reconciliation through the sharing of cultural wisdom and environmental wisdom, and just recognizing that while our technological society has done a great deal to contribute to some of our problems, there's other cultures that are ready and willing and have the resources, the knowledge to help us to find a different way. So be open and listen.
Yeah, that's excellent. Excellent point. From Joe Gunn, suggested action arising from this meeting. Would Tasha and Bishop Yon write to CCCB asking them to appoint a bishop to lead a Canadian Laudato Si action platform effort? The Irish bishop conferences and others have done this already. Excellent. Joe, thanks. We will definitely have to have a conversation around that, because it is something that's really important. So yeah, thanks for saying that. Oh my
And
gosh.
to my knowledge, at least 10 dioceses in Canada are very active on environmental issues. So there's already a growing movement there.
Yeah. Mark says, if you're interested in learning more and getting involved in justice and right relationship with Indigenous peoples, see also the dialogue guide from the Listening to Indigenous Voices, which also connects strongly to ecological themes. And that's from the Jesuits, which if you haven't checked that out, it's a very excellent resource as well.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen, Joe. Can you give us examples of how schools can implement? Okay, listen, we're getting ahead of ourselves now, friends. So I'm going to, I love this energy and I love these questions and comments. They're so excellent. So I'm just gonna ask you to pause this for a second. We are going to go into breakout rooms. And so you'll be able to select which, here, I'm going to do it right now. So there's the economic sector, educational, family, healthcare, organizations, parishes and diocese, religious. So you can choose which room you want to go into, which best meets your needs. And we'll chat for about 25 minutes in the group. And then if someone can kind of take notes and maybe highlight what's one or two things, questions or joys or inspirations that you bring from your group, and then come back and we'll do a general kind of reporting and then we'll sign off for the day. So please go ahead and select your own group, which breakout room you'd like to go into, and then we'll see you in 25 minutes. Welcome back, everyone, from your breakout rooms. I hope that was somewhat helpful and good for you. I guess, so I'm just gonna invite each group, if there was kind of a speaker from each group that would like to just bring forth, you know, if a question or a highlight, if you have one or two things, just, you know, to quickly kind of share, and then that there might be an opportunity for a response from Norman or myself or Bishop Yon or maybe someone else. There's a lot of experts in this room, and then that we can kind of just go through that, and then final closing comments, and then you'll be free for the day. So if that's amenable to everyone, is there someone from the education breakout room who would like to share? You can feel free to just unmute yourself, turn your video on and share, or you can post in the chat if that's better. Question, comment, highlight.
Hi, you said from the education group, Tasha?
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah, we just sort of, yeah, talked about our individual experiences, and then it was mostly geared towards more elementary school and high school level education. And then, yeah, we just started sharing resources like crazy as different people remembered different things that are sort of curriculum related that can tie in Laudato Si to the various parts of the curriculum. And yeah, we exchanged emails and we're going to network.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yes, Rosemary, so good to see you. This is excellent.
Oh, so good to see you.
Rosemary and I studied at U of T together, so this is very exciting. Excellent. So did you have like a highlight or a question or a comment that kind of came from your group for us to take forward, or it was just so perfect and excellent, well laid out that just applause for Norman?
I don't know, maybe somebody who's a bit newer to this process would want to chime in from my group, because yeah, I
Sure.
don't monopolize the thing.
I mean, I'm happy to jump in. So also from the education group, I mean, for me, the highlight was just meeting people who have a wealth of experience. You know, I'm new to Laudato Si, so I'm kind of learning, and I was furiously making notes of and reaching out to people individually, getting contact information. So that was definitely a highlight for me, being able to, you know, leave this with people now we can reach out to and communicate with and network with.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so maybe we can go to, I know I'm keep switching the view on you guys, I'm sorry. So if there's someone maybe from the family group that would want to share.
I will try. Yeah, this was really interesting, and everybody had, little things to share. And I think what came out of it was, you start small and you do what you can in your own neighborhood. Like, I think the ideas were just fantastic. The best idea I heard was, well, anyway, the others you kind of know about before, but the one about the hot water coming out of you wait for the water from cold to hot in the tap, you save that water. And I know we sometimes will save it in the kitchen and, put it somewhere in the summer, it goes on the lawn or the grass or whatever. But this lady, they said they've got the parish kind of involved, and they save this cold water. And before they're going to have a shower. So they turn the tap on, and then when it's the right temperature for their shower, they've had all that cold water in the pail, and they put it in the toilet to flush the toilet. I thought, my goodness, that is so good. I know that we put a brick in our toilet tank, just use less water that way. And I think the other big issue was, really thinking of the poor in your neighborhood, in your town, and, there might be somebody in your neighborhood that you really not even sure. And I myself met somebody at the community fridge, and I thought, whoa, he's coming here for food. Isn't that interesting? And also the hanging of clothes, like, we wash clothes and maybe wash less often and hang it in the basement, hang it outside, hang it wherever. And also the dishwasher. We wash our dishes by hand once a day. And, if somebody comes, I've got dirty dishes in the sink, and I'll say, well, I'm environmentally conscious. And they go, oh, yeah. But just that little note of, don't be embarrassed. It's just okay. And just to minimize, to minimalize, there's that kind of group that goes around about that too. So maybe I shouldn't use up too much more time, but those are kind of the highlights. And even the green grass, you don't have to water every week. I know our grass gets a little brown, but that's okay. Other people do too. And then you're not watering so often. It'll come back, no problem. And then some people planting vegetables in their front lawn and the side and wherever. So yeah, it's very interesting when you walk around the neighborhood and talk to people about what they're growing. So thank you very much. And I think I'll ask my group if they want to add anything more.
Just for the lawn, I have to jump in and say, yeah, grass, we're used to the blue grass which was brought from England, the whole idea. But you can have clover, which is much more resilient to pests and to when there's less water, when there's less rain. So clover is really good. And if you want to invest a little bit more and have a patch of thyme, first, it smells amazing. And second, it flowers, it becomes purple in the month of May, the month of Mary. So imagine in front of your church or your Catholic organization, having a spot which flowers in the month of Mary, that's great.
Yeah, pollinators love clover, thyme, wildflowers that are indigenous to wherever region you're from. Kentucky bluegrass is stupid. The roots aren't good for erosion. It takes a lot of water. It's very finicky kind of thing that, there's better other things that you can grow, in my opinion, like food, because it's expensive. But anyway,
we have a house for bees.
Yeah, have a house for bees. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Lucille. Anybody else from the family group? Any questions or comments or?
Well, I just wanted to say that we had a nice little connection. We talked a little bit about food rescue as well, and some lovely ideas about, I think Lucille herself was talking about like being part of going around the city and collecting apples or fruits, for example, and sharing in that. But we did make myself and another person, Ray, are connecting with regard to food rescue issues. So we're going to help each other a bit there.
Awesome. That's so great. Good. Okay, so I don't know if anyone was in the healthcare group. I don't think so. If you were, you can speak now. Okay, I think we'll move to organizations and groups. So I was kind of hoping all the CWL women would go into this group because I know you guys are working on this nationally. So, but not just CWL, there's lots of organizations. So anyone from that group here to share?
I could
I
share.
can tell
Tasha.
you.
Oh, okay. No, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. Well, also, I'll start with the end. We had a really nice exchange of experiences, but at the end, we all exchanged email addresses, and we're going to keep in touch with each other. We were 6 people in the group. And what was interesting, we had people worked at the diocesan level, person worked in hospice. I'm a member of a secular Franciscan fraternity here on Prince Edward Island, but a couple of us have had endeavors in the area of JPIC, which is justice, peace, and integrity of creation. And a couple of us had common friends too, that working in that field. So that was really interesting. And we talked about ways in which we try to integrate JPIC activities into our different organizations and so on. So that was a really healthy exchange. And Norma, I have to tell you, I'm from Montreal. I retired to Prince Edward Island 20 years ago, and I know how to pronounce Longueuil.
Excellent.
We're not keeping score, but I give him 2 extra points.
Excellent. Agnes, do you want to share?
What was said previously is exactly what I was going to say. So it worked out very well. We had a wonderful exchange, just getting to know each other, and Michael captured that really well. And we did share some resources back and forth, but we are looking forward to future communications. So that will happen, if not this weekend, on Monday for sure. And we're looking forward to connecting again.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so then I think anyone else from organizations care to share? Okay, so then next group was Parishes and Diocese.
I can share what I recorded, but then others in the group might want to chip in there. First of all, our group was diverse in terms of geography and location. We had Yellowknife, Northern Alberta, the East Coast, Cape Breton, Grand Prairie, Montreal, Toronto, Mississauga. So what already, that was such a gift, you know, to see that, like you mentioned, someone earlier working from the ground up, you know, that was happening for sure in our group. So in terms of your question, here are a few highlights. I'll give you 4 highlights and then a few questions that came out of that. So someone gave a really good tip about perhaps making the video of Norman's presentation available to parish councils and or parish priests, because it was very clear. You made some great distinctions and between resources and the action plan, and very helpful. So the other thing was, I think what emerged from our group was the gift of working from the bottom, from the groundswell, because the question did come up, well, you know, what happens if your priest isn't on board? How do you introduce this idea to priests? And, you know, what about small places where there's limited engagement right now with the parish? And I think the answers, we kind of answered those questions with one another in the sense that, well, you know what, this can be as simple as a small group, a couple of families, an individual even as a family. And someone noted that people right now are actually looking for something. You know, we've kind of made it through, well, 5 waves of COVID-19, but I think in many places, people are looking now, what's next? How can we engage? So Okay, organizations was another thing that came up as a way of answering that question. How do we work on this groundswell? And the platform itself is as complicated or as simple as the particular group wants to make it. So it doesn't have to seem like overwhelming, which it could appear when you get on the website, you know, and see all the different goals and the actions. Yeah, so just getting some things going, growing a network of support. It sort of emerges as a theme in our group. It's just planting these seeds, whatever the seed is, just starting, you know. And someone wisely pointed out that this is really a ministry of hope. It's not meant to be coming across as a doomsday announcement. And we as parishes can do something. And maybe not to dwell so much on, you know, what's happening at the top of the hierarchy and how do we get that going, but just start where we are. And as families start doing this and parishes, councils are into this, they're going to have to notice. It has to be noticed, you know. So although I do like the idea Joe gave earlier about writing to the CCCB. If I missed anything, please add in, because there was, I think, 12 people in our group. So,
okay, thank you so much, Kim.
May I?
Yes, absolutely.
Kim, great to see you. Salut. And so that's something I've seen a lot in 16 years helping parishes, dioceses, is that sometimes it's a few parishioners together who would love to see things going forward for creation care, but maybe the pastoral team or the priest isn't quite on board yet. And I've seen the opposite as well. I've seen very motivated priests, but then he's not surrounded by other people who really want to get on board. So I'm sending it through the chat now. It's a little video called The 7 Fruits of Greening Your Church. It's a very short video. It's very punchy. It's drawn. And it basically shows that, yes, you'll be reducing the environmental footprint, but there are so many other fruits, like youth get involved, like you'll be saving money, like there are just so many fruits. So I do invite you to go watch that. And when you're trying to convince other people, well, that's kind of fun to share.
Thank you. Great. Was there anyone else from that group that wanted to share anything? Okay, so then the last group that we had was the religious. Who would like to share from that group?
Okay, I have a few notes, but we had a very marvelous sharing, and several sisters and Joe was there who helped oblate, so that it was great. Yeah, as kind of a summary, we felt the importance of making things simple and focused and coordinating different groups. Like there were people in our group from Toronto who seemed to have several organizations that are all about respecting our creation. And there's a yearning for collaboration and not too many divisions, and connecting with TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and that would be very important. And then Joe pointed out the method being used in the Synod of communication, participation, and mission. And it would be wonderful if religious communities could push for adoption of the synodal process, and more than religious communities, that would just be not having these two big things we're supposed to be working on, just getting it together. And to try and give inspiration to those who have said they're interested, but they're pretty slow to actually put anything into practice. So try and encourage them. And should we be encouraging the leadership anymore, CCCB or CRC, we realize that they all have plenty of things they're working on. So anybody else in the group wish to add?
Thank you so much, Sister Terry. Anybody else from that group?
Just to say that in terms of the connecting, well, one of the things we see, what Norm here, and Agnes here, and Joe, people who've got a broader connection across the country, and yourself, Tash, I mean, your archdiocese has put together some really good webinars that I've been on in the past. It's like to really get people connected. I know as an I'm part of an eco conversion group that's international, but I think, you know, using people like Agnes and Norm and others to bring a Canadian group together. There's a lot of us Laudato Si animators that are trained in Canada, but we don't know who we all are. And so we're connecting with others. I mean, I'm grateful that Philippe is in Ottawa. He's the closest one to me, but I'm also on this group with somebody from California and New Hampshire and Georgia. And, you know, so Agnes is the other one that's Canadian on our group too, but it just, there's so many things happening. And I think we can't wait to have it come from CRC or the CCCB. We've got, somebody just already addressed the grassroots piece and the families piece. And that's the kind of way that we have to begin, even in terms of small, you know, parishes and dioceses that have got it working to help the others get going. And yes, maybe eventually the bishops might name a bishop to do it. I worked at the bishops conference, so I know it'll take time to get things going there. But we've got some good people out here on this website that really can get this connection going. And I think just to hear that people have made their own networking through sharing emails and stuff like that, that's where the resources are, in the people that are here. So let's do it.
Yeah, I think that is just a great point, that there's a specific Canadian context that needs to be addressed, or that can be addressed better, you know, through networking with things like this. So I mean, this was a goal for having the breakout rooms, not just to give you information, but a chance to connect, and that this was, you know, a pan-Canadian gathering, that we'd have that opportunity. So I'm really glad to hear that that has happened. This was definitely something that Norman and I kind of envisioned. So I'm joyful to hear that. So I just wanted to offer as well, there was a comment made that, you know, there are a lot of dioceses or eparchies that don't necessarily have a staff person or a dedicated volunteer or whatever to kind of be working on this or other social justice initiatives. And so I might kick myself for saying this, but you all have my email. So if you don't have someone who can maybe support or connect you to some of these other initiatives that are going on, or just to, you know, provide that a listening ear or something like that, you can definitely email me. I will most likely delegate things to other people that I know that are going on. I know there's a lot of folks on this call who are well connected, more than I am. So there's a wealth of wisdom and experience and knowledge here with the people on the call. So I really hope that you were able to share some of your contact information with people. I want to, we did go a bit over time, but I think it was really good and necessary for us to make space for this conversation to happen. So I just want to thank you all for hanging in there. Michael, you have your hand up.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just mention, I think for those who are just starting to get organized, I think the idea of formulating an action plan can be a little bit intimidating. Mm-hmm. So I would encourage everyone, don't wait until you have a plan before you start acting. I think we're going to be exposed to so many ideas through this action platform website that there are small endeavors you can undertake with your group within your community. And I would almost encourage you to start that before you start trying to get a big structure going. My wife and I have been involved with social justice groups for 40 years, going back to Montreal and Prince Edward Island, and start acting, and then let the framework come together, and then start the process of an action plan. Don't wait until you have the perfect structure before you start acting. Start small.
Yeah, thank you. And that's, I think, a good piece of wisdom for us, you know, good advice is coming in the chat. So yeah, I do want to, a couple of people have messaged me or have kind of said it or just thrown their contact information right in the chat. So if you didn't get a chance to share your contact information and you would like to, please either post it in the chat. If you want everyone to have your email, that would be great. Maybe you could say what group you were in, if that's particular, or if you would like me to connect you with a certain person, you can email me specifically and I can go in between and make sure that's okay that we're all sharing our contact information.
Tasha, you're matchmaking just before Valentine's Day.
Yeah, so if you want me to be a matchmaker for you, you can just let me know. So you should all have my email. It was on all the posters and the registration form, and if you have those emails, you'll have that. And you can just let me know, and I will be on my computer working for the next probably hour or so. So if you email me, then I can try and hook you up with your new friends. And I just want to thank you all for just this. I mean, we started at 10 o'clock Saskatchewan time, so what a great way to spend my Saturday morning. It was just so nice to see so many friendly faces and to connect with so many of you. And this has just been really inspiring and hopeful for me. So I hope to that you can take that forward and you can begin. You know, spring is going to be coming soon, so we can dream and plan and vision for the next season coming our way. So with that, I think
Sooner for some.
Sooner for some. Those of you in the north, you have to wait a little bit longer. Groundhog Day always, you know, 6 more weeks. It's like close. So with that, I will invite you, if you're done, to you can sign off. I'll keep this open just for a little bit if people want to stay in chat, or if you want to make sure that you post your email or whatever in the chat. But thanks so much for coming, everyone. God bless your day and all the work that you do. And just thanks again for coming. We'll see you all later.
Everyone.